SummerSlam is officially upon us, but what does the biggest party of the summer have in store for us tonight? We are going to talk about every single match and make predictions for each and every one of them. Plus, AEW finally announced their first all-in match, and it has shaken up the wrestling world. We are going to talk about that and so much more on this edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. The bomb drops now.
All of you friendly, nice, amazing people.
Oh, hi everyone. We love you so much.
This is the best.
It's TSF.
Is it real?
100 not.
Oh my god.
And you're listening to the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, baby.
Thank you, TSF, and hello everyone, and welcome to the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, the Young Buck, Andy York. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to us. Whether this is your first time or you have been a long-time viewer, we appreciate the love and support that each and every one of you give us each and every week. I know that it has been a while since we uploaded a video. Life has been busy, but there's no way we could miss this SummerSlam prediction, the SummerSlam preview show. There's no way we could have missed this opportunity. Plus, AEW dropped some big news as well this week. We're going to talk about all of that and more. But, of course, we always start off the show by thanking our supporters out there. First off, thank you, WrestleBuddy, for all of your fantastic stuff that you do. Whether you're into old school, new school, whether you are trying to keep up to date with some backstage news or predictions or whatever, you definitely want to check out everybody over at WrestleBuddy. Chris and I both have articles up there. You definitely want to go check those out. But we appreciate their support over there. Plus, we want to send a special shout out to Tom over at SportsWire Radio. Tom and the gang over there always do a fantastic job. It's your one-stop shop for all things sports-related, whether it's baseball, football season is about to begin, wrestling, all of that. Definitely go and check them out over there. Make sure you are subscribed to the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and notification button so you never miss out on one of our episodes. And if you're not a YouTube guy or you don't like listening to the audio or the video version, the audio version is available wherever you find your podcast, whether that's Apple Music, Google Play, SoundCloud, I believe, as well, iHeartRadio. You can definitely go check us out anywhere you find your podcast. Go check us out there. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at PBW Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Andy_PBWP, especially tonight, as I will be live tweeting throughout all of SummerSlam, giving my thoughts as well as the show develops and goes on. Now, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to dive into for this episode. I'm going to try to keep it as concise as possible because doing a show by yourself, nobody wants to hear me talk for an hour. So I'm going to try to talk. I'm going to try to get this in as much as possible as we kind of are doing our predictions for SummerSlam. But there's some AEW news that we got to talk about from the beginning. We're going to jump right into that now, as All In finally announced their first match, which we are like 2 or 3 weeks away. We are very, very close to the event. The first match has been announced for All In. Adam Cole will be going after the AEW World Heavyweight Championship against MJF. The best story in AEW right now has been Adam Cole and MJF. That is not really up for debate, I don't think, by anybody. The work that these two guys have done over the last couple of weeks have just been amazing, absolutely spectacular to see what they have been able to do and what they're doing. It's been a lot of fun. We've seen a very different side of MJF, which I appreciate. I'm very excited for. And, there's a lot of twists and turns that we could see come from this. I think the obvious idea is that MJF will turn on Adam Cole at some point, and then we go with babyface Adam Cole, heel MJF. But I think there's a scenario, and I think there's a really good chance that Adam Cole could be the one to turn on MJF to win that AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Turn on MJF. We finally get babyface MJF or tweener MJF, and keep Adam Cole going back to doing the heel work that he is so good at doing as well. Personally, I've enjoyed Adam Cole's babyface run. I think it's a different side of him than what we've seen before. And I'm enjoying every single step of it. I'm loving everything that they're doing. But I think it would be a good change for both of them if they decided to go that route. They've been teasing the breakup for a while now. But I don't know if we're actually going to get the breakup at some point. It may happen at All In, and then we do something at All Out. Selfishly, I'm hoping they're still together because AEW is coming to Nashville August 16th here, Bridgestone Arena. I'm hoping they're together. Otherwise, I bought my Better Than You Baby t-shirt for nothing, and I'm planning on wearing that to the event. But I would love it if they're still together for that. We do the turn. Somebody turns it All In. Then we set up something at All Out the next week, which will be fantastic. I can't believe it's taken this long for All In to announce their first match, but I honestly think it was the best business decision they could have made to not announce anything. I mean, the number of tickets that they have sold before they announced the first match is a ridiculous number, and a number that nobody really thought they were going to reach that quickly. And now that they've announced the first match, I mean, tickets are almost impossible, if not impossible, to get at this point, unless you get them through resellers. And if you're getting them through resellers, then get ready to pay a ridiculous price for those tickets. But I'm expecting this show to completely sell out. I think we're going to start getting more matches as the time comes closer and closer. It's going to start unfolding a lot quicker. But the fact that we have just now gotten our first match only a couple of weeks out is a mind-boggling decision or a mind-boggling thing, but I think it's worked out best for them, and it's added a lot more intrigue of what's going to happen, what's the match is going to look like. I've seen a rumored card, if it's the rumored card, I'm all for it. I mean, obviously you got Adam Cole and MJF for the AEW World title or for the World Championship. You've got the Young Bucks versus FTR, I'm sure, for the tag titles. The Young Bucks said this past week that they are going into the tag division again, going after the tag title, so that makes sense for that to happen there. Kenny Omega versus Takeshita, which, sign me up for that. That's going to be amazing. CM Punk versus Jay White, which is another one that's going to be really, really good. And then Jeff Jarrett versus Grado, which I'm excited. I want to see what Chris's reaction, if that happens. I want to see what his reaction is to that. We'll get him to record himself talking about that, because I have a feeling his opinion is going to be very fun on that. But if that's the rumored All-In card, if that's the card that we get, I'm very excited about that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, there have been some injuries that have popped up here recently that have caused some problems. Pac is apparently injured, which throws a wrench in a couple of things. A couple other people have been injured as well, which kind of doesn't help out a lot going into All In. It feels like AEW, every time they have this kind of a big show, there's a injury bug that gets them, and I think they're getting ready to run through that as well. Speaking, though, of AEW, I would be remiss as the Mayhem guy. Go listen to the PBWF if you want any context on what I mean by mayhem, but as the chaos guy and the violence guy, I have to send a special shout out to Rampage that yesterday, the BCC versus the Best Friends in the parking lot brawl. It brought back memories to the pandemic era. I know a lot of people don't like thinking of pandemic era wrestling. AEW, I think, did the best job in the pandemic era doing things like the parking lot brawl that they normally did. Well, they met out in the parking lot again, and it was the most brutal thing I have seen in a long time from a parking lot brawl. I mean, curb stomp on the car, a death rider on top of a car. Sue got involved, and John Moxley and Claudio threatened Sue, and you don't threaten Sue, and there was just a lot of mayhem and chaos that ensued in that match. So if you have not checked that out, I would highly recommend you go and check out that match, because it was absolutely ridiculous to see that. Tonight as well, not only is SummerSlam going on, but we also have Collision. That'll be taking place tonight, about the same time that SummerSlam is getting rolling. So if you're going to be like me, you're going to have one on the TV. You're going to have probably SummerSlam on the TV and Collision on my iPad watching both, because I'm just a wrestling addict, but that's fine. But tonight in the main event, you got CM Punk versus Ricky Starks. I think this is one they could have stretched out to All In, but I think they may have other plans for Ricky going forward from here, and they want to get Punk versus Jay White at a show like All In. So that makes sense, but I expect something special tonight from Punk and Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks has had Punk's number the last couple of weeks, so that story heading into this match is going to be very, very interesting to see where we go from here and what happens there as well. That's all the AEW stuff we're really going to talk about this week. We're going to talk more about AEW next week once we get SummerSlam kind of out of the way. We're heading right into All In and All Out season, so we're going to be focusing a little more on AEW the next couple of weeks, but this week is going to be very WWE heavy. So we're going to jump into that and talk about that here in a little bit. I'm not going to talk about the current unrest reports that have been going on in both AEW and WWE's locker room. There's so many reports going on. There's so much unknown in the situation that I'm not going to talk about it. I have my opinions. I have my thoughts. I'm not going to share those though. Right now, I think as more things come out and we get a better picture of what's happening or what's really going on, we'll talk about it. But I'm just going to kind of throw that out there because it's a big topic the last couple of days. Not going to put my foot in that one, not just yet. I'm going to let it kind of go from there. I'm going to figure things out. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to bring up and talk about real quick. Is something I'm not going to talk about as the unrest in the women's division on both sides. But I will say this from the WWE, at least from the WWE perspective, because there's a lot more in your face than I think some of the AEW stuff. Because the AEW stuff is hearsay and it's word of mouth, and there's some uncertainty. But with the women's side, the thing, and we're kind of transitioning into WWE a little bit, but I'm jumping ahead. But I'm by myself now, so I can chase whatever rabbit I want. The fact that Becky and Trish is not happening on SummerSlam is very, very baffling to me. And I think this is one that is not necessarily locker room unrest, more really bad booking decision and really bad management decision. I mean, you have who some consider the greatest women's wrestler of all time in Trish Stratus going up against the modern day mega star, number one star in all of the wrestling world. I understand Charlotte Flair. I understand Britt Baker. I understand Mercedes Moné. But Becky Lynch is the biggest name in women's wrestling all across the world. And you don't have her versus Trish, a feud that's been going on since post-WrestleMania, and you don't have that on the SummerSlam card is absolutely ridiculous, I think. There's got to be a spot for this on the SummerSlam card. And I know the main event between Roman and Jey, and we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but the main event I know is going to go 45 minutes to an hour. Does it really need to go that long? I don't think so. Do I really need to see Logan Paul wrestle at SummerSlam more than Becky versus Trish? I don't think so. I think this is a very big missed opportunity. I know they're going to be in Canada, I believe, for Monday Night Raw. I think they're going to be in Canada. Trish's hometown, blah, 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 whatever. That doesn't matter. SummerSlam is the second biggest show of the year, and you're not going to have this headlining match, a match that could main event anywhere in the world, and you're not going to have it on the card at all. It is just absolutely ridiculous. Rhea Ripley, another example of why does she not have a match at SummerSlam? I mean, she was the most dominant champion going in, or she was the most dominant female or women's wrestler in WWE going into WrestleMania. She got the big win over Charlotte and literally has defended it like once on a pay-per-view, not counting the beatdown she gave Natalya. So nothing happening for her at SummerSlam is ridiculous as well. So just a couple of really odd booking decisions and card placement, I think, from Triple H in WWE. Not something we haven't really seen a lot of here recently, but I mean, the more we kind of are getting deeper into his run as head of creative, we're starting to see some of the cracks, some of the things of, him kind of doing his own thing and not putting Becky and Trish on the card, not finding a match for Rhea Ripley on the card. The Bloodline storyline is the best thing in wrestling history. I get that. I understand that. And he's had a major, major part in that. But a lot of other stuff has kind of suffered because the Bloodline storyline has been so good. I think the women's division is evidence of that fact. But we'll talk about that as we move forward. I believe hopefully Chris will be able to give some thoughts on SummerSlam. I kind of want to get his take on that match getting pulled because I'm very curious to see what he has to say about that as well. But that's all the AEW and kind of WWE news outside of SummerSlam that we're going to talk about. We are going to predict SummerSlam, which is happening tonight in just a couple of hours. You're going to see our predictions now. And then tomorrow right here on our YouTube channel and on our podcast feed, you're going to hear our review of it. We're trying something a little different. We're trying something a little new of trying to separate our predictions and reviews from our weekly show. That way, on the weekly show, we're able to talk more about the weekly product and then talk separately about these big shows that deserve to be talked about more and have more time talking about them. So we're trying something a little different. We're going to see how well this works out. But before we jump into our SummerSlam predictions, make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you never missed out on a video. Like this video as well. Share it with your friends. If you're listening to us through the audio, we appreciate that as well. Make sure you do the same thing. Leave a 5-star review. Share this with your friends because we want to share the word. We want to spread the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast as much as we can. So let's talk about SummerSlam, which is happening, like I said, in just a couple of hours. Very excited for this show. I got to say, I think there's been some up and down build for the show. There's some things I'm very, very excited about, some intrigue things, some things that I'm not too sure about. But we're going to talk about all of that. So let's start with, and again, we're using PW Scorecard. I'm not going to give my scorecard, all my scorecard predictions here because, like I said, I'm by myself. It'll take forever. I'll give who I think's winning and how I think they'll win. That way, nobody can accuse me of cheating later on. But Chris is doing this as well. So once we get together, once we're able to talk, we will compare scores, talk about all of that as well as we go through here. But I'm going to run from top to bottom how they have it structured on here as we kind of go through. So starting off with the singles match that I would be shocked if it did not start off the show, and that would be between Ricochet and Logan Paul. The feud going into this has been it's been fine. I mean, the spot that started this feud, I think it was smart to build a feud from that. I mean, the botched springboard Spanish fly through the tables, which nearly killed both guys. It looked like is a good idea to kickstart this rivalry between the two. I'm excited Ricochet is finally getting a big singles feud, but the last one that he had was with Brock Lesnar, and he didn't last very long in that match. I'm not expecting the same from this. I think he's going to get more offense, and I think he's going to look a lot better. I don't think he's going to win, though. I think Logan Paul needs to get a big win. He hasn't gotten one since WrestleMania 38. No, SummerSlam. He beat Miz at SummerSlam last year. So I would say he hasn't got one in like a year. He lost to Roman Reigns. He lost to Seth Rollins. He didn't win Money in the Bank. So I think he is due for a win. I think he can beat Ricochet. Ricochet will be just fine. Very interesting stuff, though, the last couple of weeks. Logan Paul has gotten better, I think, on the mic. He's getting more comfortable in the role that he's playing. But, like I said, I don't... If we are sacrificing Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus on SummerSlam card, this is a match that I think we could have done on a Monday Night Raw instead of Becky and Trish. But that's just my opinion, my thought. I do think Logan Paul will get the win. I think he's going to knock Ricochet out. I think Ricochet is going to go for some kind of ridiculous move off the top rope and then just get knocked out. 1, 2, 3. Logan Paul wins. He's able to use that. Don't know where he goes from here. I don't know what feud he goes into next. But I think that's a great way to start off the show. It's going to be entertaining. They're going to do some ridiculous stuff. They're going to fly all over the ring. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I expect that one to start the night off for sure. The other singles match that we're going to talk about that's not for a title, and is one that is one of the main events of SummerSlam this year. I believe they've said there are 3. I think the Bloodline match, the Triple Threat match, and then this match are all billed as main event matches for SummerSlam. Brock versus Cody, this is intriguing me more than the last couple of ones have. I think they've done a better job of building to SummerSlam. I do wish this had a stipulation. I think we are missing an opportunity by not having some kind of stipulation on this match for this card, or for this show. I really think Brock Cody in a Texas Bull Rope match. I know a lot of people have been fantasy booking that. It makes sense, though. It makes all the sense in the world to have that go on and have those two guys fight in that kind of a match. But we're getting just a standard match. I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if Cody Rhodes does not win this. I think there's no chance Brock wins, which is crazy talking about Brock Lesnar. I think Cody needs all the momentum in the world. I think especially if we're going to run this back at WrestleMania 40 between him and Cody, he needs to be able to put Brock down and get the win, not by a cheap roll-up, not by reversing a Kimura lock. I think he needs to hit 3 crossroads, middle of the ring, the shoulders to the mat. Cody Rhodes needs to get the win. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I would be completely shocked and would make me rethink a lot of things if Cody does not beat Brock at SummerSlam convincingly. I don't think we're getting a squash. I know it's Brock at SummerSlam. I know we're going to have a discussion or talk, I think, when Chris comes back to the podcast about who's Mr. WrestleMania, Mr. SummerSlam, Mr. Survivor Series, Mr. Royal Rumble. Brock Lesnar is right up there as Mr. SummerSlam. Some of the greatest SummerSlam matches of all time. Brock Lesnar has his name right next to it. And I think this could be special. I really do. I think this could be an absolutely special one. But I think Brock Lesnar falls just short of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes goes into a feud maybe with Gunther, but I don't necessarily see that. Maybe with a Drew McIntyre or maybe even Bray Wyatt. Like that's been the report is that Bray Wyatt may be returning tonight, going after Cody Rhodes. If we get Cody and Bray, I'm a little leery of that because I don't think either man can afford to lose right now, and so that kind of backs them into a corner at that point. But I don't know where Cody goes from here. With Brock, you can just throw Brock in there with anybody, and it'll be fine. Like it'll sell because it's Brock Lesnar and he's just going to murder somebody. So I think both men are going to be fine, but I think Cody Rhodes does get the win after hitting 3 consecutive crossroads and pins Brock Lesnar in the middle of the ring. One of the other singles matches that has a stipulation to it, and one that I never thought I would say this, but I'm actually very, very curious about, is the MMA rules match between Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey. Now, it's no secret that Ronda's contract is coming up very, very soon. This is probably her last match for some time in WWE, if not her last match ever in WWE. So I'm expecting some big things. I think she wants to go out against Shayna. I think she wants this match to happen between her and Shayna. That's probably why the turn happened so quickly. The turn has been the best thing for Shayna Baszler. I mean, she after the turn, she came out and cut that amazing promo. She's been getting better and better. They just did the video package where she says she was the godmother to Ronda's daughter, I believe, and now she has to live with the fact that her goddaughter is going to hate her forever what she does to her mom. Like, stuff like that is the Shayna Baszler we need to see. The Shayna Baszler that could absolutely be the women's world champion at some point, or the women's champion at some point. I think she could win. She could get back to that level, and that all starts by beating Ronda Rousey, and I think she beats her by making Ronda submit. I think Ronda taps out, and we don't see Ronda again for a while. I don't think she's even showing up on Raw the next or 2 nights later to say goodbye or whatever. I think Shayna beats her, sends her away. Shayna goes on this massive run, this killer run that she's been due for from getting called up to NXT. One thing about Triple H is he knows how to book Shayna Baszler to look like a killer. He did it in NXT. I think this is the start to that as well, and she is going to run wild on Ronda Rousey. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be physical. I really think it's going to be a very brutal physical match between these two, but I think Shayna Baszler gets the win by making Ronda Rousey tap out. And I don't think it's going to go very long, probably 8-10 minutes, something like that, as well. And then let's talk about the Battle Royal, the Slim Jim Battle Royal. As Slim Jim announced 2 days ago or a couple of days ago that they are partnering with WWE, and it wouldn't be an LA Knight match without a sponsorship getting in the way. We saw it at the Rumble. We're seeing it here as well in the Slim Jim Battle Royal. However, LA Knight in a Slim Jim commercial needs to happen immediately. That would be fantastic. The field for this, we don't know all 25 men that are in it. We saw a list last night on SmackDown of a couple. We know Sheamus, LA Knight, The Miz, Karrion Kross, AJ Styles, a couple other guys are in it as well. I know I've said this for almost every match he has been in for some time. There's no winner but LA Knight here. I think LA Knight absolutely has to win this Battle Royal. He doesn't need adversity. He doesn't need to keep losing. He doesn't need to just be almost to the top and then getting eliminated, which I can see that happening as well. I think LA Knight needs to get the win. He needs a big win at a big stage like this. he continues to get more and more over with the fans. And that needs to be rewarded at some point, and that needs to happen at SummerSlam. It's a great start-off point. I think right after that, he can go after the United States Championship, because I don't think Santos Escobar is going to be Austin Theory for that title. I think LA Knight needs to be the one to take the title off of Austin Theory, which should have happened at SummerSlam, but it's not going to. Could happen down the road, but I do think LA Knight wins the Battle Royal. I think it may come down to him and Sheamus again. I think that would be a lot of fun. I like this little character change that we are seeing from Sheamus of leaning in more to the heel style and the disgruntled WWE employee style that we're getting. He's been very vocal the last couple of weeks outside of the wrestling world, saying that he should have beaten Gunther, or that his run after that match at Clash of the Castle and WrestleMania hasn't done much, and it's hard to argue with that. He hasn't really capitalized on the momentum that he had, and that's not on him. I think that's more on the booking decisions around him. So Sheamus could win this. I really think LA Knight needs to be the one to walk away with the win here. Speaking, though, of Gunther and the Intercontinental Championship and that amazing triple threat match at WrestleMania, we are running it back a little bit with Gunther defending the Intercontinental Championship against Drew McIntyre. And I'm telling you right here, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be match of the night by far. The easiest match of the night by far. These two guys' chemistry together is ridiculous. It's going to be stiff. It's going to be brutal. I hope they give them plenty of time to go through the motion, to really build this thing up, and then just go out and have a hoss fight between two big boys. That's exactly what this needs to be. We're so close to Gunther breaking this run and breaking the longest reigning Intercontinental Championship run. I think he absolutely needs to do that. I don't think Drew needs the IC title right now. I think we can run this back in a couple of weeks after Gunther beats the reign and have Drew take the title off of him. After what we saw on Monday Night Raw, though, I'm fine with Chad Gable being the one to beat Gunther, because that match that those two guys had on Raw was fantastic as well. And I'm not expecting anything different between Gunther and Drew McIntyre. I do think Gunther does pick up the win, retains that title. Maybe we get to see some new members of Imperium at SummerSlam. I mean, Ilya Dragunov would be a great choice to throw in there with Imperium. He fits that style. Obviously, we have seen in NXT what Gunther and Ilya can do against each other in one of the best matches I have seen. They can really work together. With them working together, I think would be a fantastic pairing. But I do think Gunther retains the Intercontinental Championship, is going to break the record, and is going to be known as, and I know Chris is going to disagree with me, this is probably the greatest, if not one of the greatest, Intercontinental Championship runs of all time. And because of that, I think Gunther is up there as one of the greatest Intercontinental Champions of all time. But that's just my opinion. Excuse me. So one championship match to the other, we're in the championship section of this, and one that the build for this has not been great, to be honest. And that is between Asuka and Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. Now, it is very hard for me anyway, and if you listen to this podcast for any length of time, you'll know this is true. It's very hard, kind of like a Ronda Rousey situation. It's very hard for me to get excited about a Charlotte Flair match. It really is. I know she's great. I think she's one of the greatest, if not greatest, women's wrestlers in the ring of all time. She's fantastic in the ring. Not taking that away from her. But what I am having trouble with is the character that they were trying to build with Charlotte Flair. And the fact that she doesn't really have a character as a babyface. She doesn't need to be a babyface. She's like her dad. Her dad did not need to be a babyface. Her dad, as a heel, money. Absolutely money. Does everything he needs to do. Charlotte's the same way. Charlotte needs to be heel all the time, I think. We saw the video package that they did this past week, literally yesterday, building this up. Her video package, she was a heel in it. Like, she was talking about how she's so much better and her fancy bikini, sipping champagne on the beach, all this other, that's not something that we're not going to get behind, especially knowing who Charlotte Flair is. And so it's very hard for me to get excited about this. Bianca and Asuka don't really have great chemistry together. Bianca and Charlotte, I don't know if we've really ever seen that one-on-one a whole lot. I think the triple threat's going to be good. I think it might blow our minds. I know what the outcome of this is going to be, unfortunately, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is one that I'm absolutely wrong. But it's Charlotte Flair. SummerSlam, she's 5-0. They have been building that up, so maybe Asuka gets her revenge for Charlotte defeating her undefeated streak or beating her to lose the undefeated streak. I don't see that happening. They want her to beat her dad's record, and to do that, she needs to win and lose that title a lot. Not a lot more anymore, but like 3 or 4 more times. And because of that, I think Charlotte Flair wins the women's championship, the WWE Women's Championship. However, I do think there's a good chance that Io could cash in. We saw Io wrestle Zelina Vega and lose this past Friday night. Not a big fan of Money in the Bank people losing it all the time. I think if they lose in big-time matches, it's fine because they've got that briefcase. They've got something to hold on to. But I think there's a chance Io does cash in. It's Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam. It's hard to bet against her. I'm picking Charlotte Flair. I don't want it to happen, but I'm afraid that is what's going to happen. Is Charlotte Flair wins that women's championship. From one champion to another, sort of a rematch. The triple threat's not really a rematch. It is, but it isn't. To another outright rematch from this past pay-per-view Money in the Bank. Seth Rollins is defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor. I expect this one to be just as good as the last one. I'm expecting this match to go all over the place and be fantastic. I'm expecting the Judgment Day to get involved. I'm expecting Dominic and Rhea and Damian to get involved. I think we're going to get another tease cash-in of Damian trying to cash in on Finn. I think there is a chance where Finn could win this title, could beat Seth tonight, and Damian cashes in on Finn to win the title. However, what I think happens, because I think they're really going to try. I mean, they stood tall at the end of Monday night, which means they're probably not going to stand tall at the end of SummerSlam. I think what could happen is Seth retains. Judgment Day starts to beat down on Seth afterwards. And then Damian goes to cash in. But before the bell rings, Finn attacks Damian and stops the cash in from happening. We continue the dissension between the two, between Damian and Finn. We continue the dissension in Judgment Day a little bit. We're starting to see Dominic stand up to Rhea a little bit more, which I think is very interesting. I think JD McDonough is going to join at some point, maybe to replace Finn, maybe to replace Damian. But I think all of that starts at SummerSlam because I think Seth needs to retain here. He hasn't had it for a very long time, and he needs to do a lot more with it, I think. And I think if anybody's going to build that title up to where it needs to be, I still think the only person on the roster other than Cody, but even if Cody won it, then it automatically, I've said this before and I'll say it again, if Cody ever wins that title before beating Roman Reigns, it's the secondary title. Like it's the nothing title at that point. But I think Seth is the only one that could build it up to where it needs to be, other than maybe Gunther. Like I think Gunther could do that as well. We've seen him do that with the Intercontinental Championship, but I think Seth is the only guy to build that up. And so that's why I think he retains, and then I think we start to see a lot more dissension between Finn Balor and Damian Priest at SummerSlam. And now let's talk about the main event, the final match of the night, the match that has been 3 years in the making since Roman Reigns returned, won the Universal Championship. These two guys have fought before for this title. The bloodline has been formed and then fell apart. Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship and to be the Tribal Chief. And Tribal Combat basically is a no disqualification match is all it is. I think the storytelling of this is going to be ridiculous. I think Roman Reigns is going to be at his peak level of final boss. I think a majority of this match is Roman Reigns just beating Jey Uso down. I mean, just absolutely beating Jey Uso down. because I also think that there's a point in this match where Solo is going to start feeling some more remorse for his brother. Maybe we see a lot more tension between Roman and Solo at the end of the night or after the match is over. I don't think Jimmy returns just to turn on Jey. To me, that makes no sense. That doesn't make sense to what's been happening. I mean, Jimmy was the first one to turn on Roman before Jey was. So that, to me, wouldn't make any sense. I do think Jimmy does return. I think Jimmy returns. I think there's going to be a section, because there's no disqualification. So I think there's going to be a section of this match where Roman eats a super kick, double super kicks. He goes down. Jimmy and Jey both hit a splash, and Roman kicks out like 2.999. Like I think this is going to be that kind of a match. Roman just got pinned. I don't think he's getting pinned again. I don't think he's losing this title. I don't think he's losing the title of Tribal Chief. But I do think we're going to see a lot more tension between Roman and Solo at the end of this. Maybe we even see a full-on turn from Solo, and Roman is officially all by himself from that point on. I know the storytelling and the drama in this is going to be ridiculous, and it's going to be all over the place and off the walls, and everybody is going to be on the edge of their seat watching this, like we have with every other match that Roman Reigns has had the last couple of months in the Bloodline storyline that has made it what it is. And so I'm very, very excited for this. However, I think Roman Reigns is going to pin Jey Uso 1, 2, 3, middle of the ring, retain the Universal Championship, retain the title of Tribal Chief, and is going to continue his dominant reign probably till WrestleMania 40. Maybe beforehand. He may lose it beforehand to Solo. Maybe he loses it beforehand to Cody. But I think we are heading to Roman Reigns being the scariest he's ever been. After losing at Money in the Bank, after getting pinned for the first time in like 3 years, 4 years, whatever it was, whatever ridiculous number it was, I think we're about to see the scariest version of Roman Reigns. I heard somebody say it on TikTok a couple of days ago. I don't even remember what it was. For basketball fans out there, the scariest version of LeBron was the year after Dirk won the NBA Finals. And it was LeBron and it was D-Wade and it was Chris Bosh. And the next year after they lost in the finals to Dirk, the next year they took no prisoners. They were ruthless, aggressive. They killed everybody they saw, basically. I think we're about to get that version of Roman Reigns, as this is the scariest version of Roman we've ever seen. And I think he is going to run roughshod over WWE, over SmackDown. I think he beats Jey. We don't see him again for a long time. And we're kind of in limbo on SmackDown on what's going to happen. So I'm curious to see what happens post-match, but I don't see Jey Uso winning. If Jey wins tonight, I want everybody to hear it now. If Jey wins tonight, I'm so excited for him, and I'm so happy, and I'm going to cheer because I want Jey. My heart tells me Jey Uso needs to win. But storyline-wise and logic-wise, there's no way. There's no way Jey beats Roman tonight. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think SummerSlam is going to be a great show. I don't think it's going to be as good as WrestleMania from this past year. WrestleMania was great. I'm biased. I don't think it's going to be as good as SummerSlam from last year because SummerSlam last year was great because I was there in person. But I do think we're in store for a very special night. I think we're going to get a couple surprise returns. If I had to put my money on one, just for me, and this is my biased pick, I think Bray Wyatt does show up tonight. I think Bobby Roode shows up tonight, and we get the glorious Bobby Roode back, which would be awesome if we got that version back. But I do think we're in for a very, very special night tonight. Comment down below what your predictions are for SummerSlam as well. Comment down below what you think is going to happen tonight. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel. Make sure you go over and follow us at PBW Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at Andy_PBWP. Go over to our TikTok, like our TikTok, share that video as well. Make sure you share the audio version with your friends. Make sure you share this video around. Go check out WrestleBuddy.com for some fantastic and amazing articles from everybody over there, as well as a couple of podcasts as well. Go check them out. And then go over to Sports Wire Radio with Tom and the gang over there. Check them out as well. But this has been our SummerSlam preview episode. Enjoy SummerSlam tonight. Join us tomorrow as we dive into it and talk about everything that happens tonight. My name is Andy York. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and joining us. We will catch you guys down the road.